Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's E Major, and this is 25 days of affirmation, Vlogmas edition day 4. What is going on, you guys? I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for watching my videos. For those that have been watching my videos, if it had inspired you, if it have inspired you in any particular way, I'm glad I am doing my job. But at any rate, let's get right into it. Today's affirmation is, I will not bond over shared trauma. Once again, I will not allow myself to bond over shared trauma. We are all guilty of it. All of us are guilty of it. We meet someone and the energy and the vibe, especially if you're in a work situation, the energy and vibe is a little off or whatever the case may be, and the person probably start having a conversation about something that seems a little negative or whatever the case may be, and then you be like agreeing like, you right about that, and then the conversation get even more juicier, and then start talking about some type of trauma that happened in the person's life. And then you can relate. You're shaking your head again like, I can relate off of that. And then you get into your own trauma, and then it's like, now the bond begins. The bond begins. It's like, no. Me personally, I'm not allowing myself anymore to do that. When I was younger, and even up to probably a few years ago, I did that. Where I would meet someone, and it can be mainly trying to get to know someone in a romantic situation, and they're talking about the things that went on in their life, and I'm like, wow, I can't relate in terms of that happened to me, but I have known someone else that it happened to. So I'm able to be like, damn, I know someone that happened to that too. And that's what the basis of our conversations will be. And then it start growing into a romantic situation. That person's trauma was the detriment of our relationship. There were certain things in a relationship that I wanted to do, and it was like, no, that reminds me of when that happened to me, or, that situation is triggering me. And it was like, okay, as much as I try to let this person know, like, look, I'm not that person. I would never do that to you. I would never put you in harm's way. I would never cause you to have some type of mental frustration because of what I'm doing. Like I said, became the demise of our relationship. Everything resulted back to their past and the traumatic situation that happened. I thought because I was able to relate in a way that others didn't relate, that it would make them feel comfortable enough to not relive their situation. We all have. I cannot be involved with someone if the traumatic situation is so overwhelming where it takes over their life. I can't. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, because I have to look out for me first. And it's not you being selfish. What you guys don't understand, that you are the controller of your own destiny. Whoever you bring into your life is on you. No one said you had to. No one said you have to bond with someone that went through the same situation you have been through. You are not a therapist. You need healing yourself. And although the traumatic situation you had may not be as detrimental as theirs, it's still situations in your life that happened that you cannot bury. Like I said, there's certain triggers that's always going to remind you of the situation that happened. I can only speak for myself, people, but to everything that you do, there are always consequences. Always. Always consequences. Most of us are trying to escape from whatever caused us to have mental breakdowns from trauma. We trying to escape it. We don't want to look back at it. We don't want to be reminded of it. Just wish the whole situation never happened. So why would you want to bond with someone that have went through the same circumstances or even worse? That's not going to cause you to heal. And I'm not saying, once again, I'm not saying don't befriend someone because they had a traumatic upbringing, a traumatic situation happened to them, because that's crazy. Because we all have gone through things. We all have gone through things. So if that's the case, you'll never have any friends. We have all gone through things. So it's not that. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm not going to allow myself to my bond be based on trauma. My bond has to be greater than that with someone. I want to bond with someone, and I do bond with people that think like me. Always putting things into positive perspective. Always trying to find ways to better themselves. Always putting their best foot forward. People that are natural born entertainers. I bond off of that a lot. I bond off of a lot of things that people see me and not necessarily think that I know about, that I'm into, or so forth, so on. So that's why I said when I meet people, it's like a blank slate. It's like a bare wall. There's nothing on it. There's nothing hanging, because I don't second guess anyone. I don't try to determine how a person is going to be or to judge a person before I get to know them. It's a blank wall. You can have whatever type of bond you want to have with a person. But me personally, I'm not bonding with anyone over shared trauma. I'm not. And not to say that that has never happened. Of course it did. In such as life, you learn your lesson. You learn your lesson. Have I? Yes, that's why I can sit here and say I would not bond with anyone over shared trauma. And I'm an empath, and sometimes a person can tell me something and I could be away from the person. We had this conversation and 5 hours later, I'm nowhere around this person. And I start thinking about their situation. It starts taking over. And that's just what happens with empath. We tend to feel more of what a person going through if we didn't even experience it ourselves. You don't have to. If someone is telling you about a traumatic situation that happened in their life or whatever, I'm not telling you not to listen. I catch myself doing this all the time. I'm not telling you guys not to listen. I'm not telling you guys not to feel some type of empathy or sympathy. But why would you want to have a friendship based on sympathy and empathy? I never want to come in contact with a person and I tell them something about my past, and the only reason why we're friends is because you feel sympathetic towards me. Every little thing is, oh. Not to say that, let me just put this in a way that people don't misconstrue my words, okay? We all have friends that have been through situations in their lives that cause them to have issues. It can be trust issues. It can be mental issues. It can be all types of issues. You know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is that you should never bond with somebody just because we both have happened to have the same tumultuous, or it could be different, but some similarities. We both never seek help for those situations. So every time I'm triggered or whatever, I can call you type of friendship. The healing, you're not even healed yourself. So it's kind of like the blind leading the blind. You're not even healed yourself from your traumatic situation. And no matter how many times you see therapists and they talk to you about certain situations, it's like a drug addict. You're always going to be labeled one because there's always temptation. And unfortunately, the way the mind and the memory goes, there's only so much that you can bury back there without it coming up at some point in time in your life. So even though people have gone to therapy for their traumatic situations and it's buried back there and you don't want it to ever resurface, at some point in time in your life, it will. But you would know how to handle it better because you seeked help. But it still will resurface. So what does that say? Although you healed, there's still possibility that it can resurface. I truly feel like it's my due diligence to come on here and to inspire, to articulate in such a way that people can relate to. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell so you know or be notified when I drop a video. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend so we can all be friends. This is day 4. It feels good. Can't stress it enough.